Everywhere we look, democracy seems to be in trouble. Only you can protect democracy. Welcome to Section 1 and 2 S.I.D.E, Students in Democracy Education. 10 fundamental principles of liberal democracy and 10 conversations. Let's get started. Welcome to S.I.D.E and to this next most important conversation that you are about to have on the subject of equality, that most critical, fundamental, on which all the other principles of liberal democracy rest. There is no free and democratic society that doesn't begin with the equality principle. And this is how it goes. All persons are born and remain free and equal. And everything that we've constructed to produce what we think of as a just society, a free and democratic society, is really an extrapolation of that principle of equality, that we come into the world as free and equal moral persons. But let's talk about what that means. There are many ways in which we use the words equal and equality. And indeed, there are as many meanings and interpretations of those words. These include formal equality, numerical equality, proportional equality, natural equality, social equality, civil equality, political equality, economic equality, legal equality, and with the possible exception of numerical equality. They're all grounded in the conception of equal moral personality possessed by each and every one of us. It doesn't mean that we're all the same. In fact, as we know, we're different in an infinite number of ways. It doesn't mean that we are not equal because of our many, many differences. Differences in age, differences in ability, differences in cultural or ethnic background, differences in sexual orientation or gender identification, differences in economic circumstances. We come into the world with different advantages. Some people are born into a wealthy family, a prosperous family, a politically, commercially, economically successful family. Some people are coming to the world in more wretched, disadvantaged conditions. Equality does not eliminate those differences. It exists notwithstanding those differences. It's in recognizing that the myriad ways in which we are different should not disentitle each and every one of us to a dignified and decent quality of life and to equal respect for the moral worth of each and every one of us. Let me explain it this way. Every person, no matter how different they are, no matter how different their background is, how different the economic circumstances of their family may be, the cultural, the ethnic, the political circumstances, every person comes into the world as an owner of one thing. And what is that one thing that each and every one of us owns as we enter the world? Even before we have our first thought, even before we can understand, before we can speak, before we can think, before we can act, we already own one thing. And that one thing that we own is ourselves. We may not even be conscious of that ownership, but it is fundamental to who we are. We own our own person, our own selves. And it's the only thing in life that you can't sell, that you can't give away, that you can't dispose of. And it's the one thing that nobody else can take away from you. And it's that original ownership that actually grounds the injunction against slavery. Most of us would agree that slavery is a bad thing, and we can think of many reasons, the suffering that it causes, the ugliness, the pain. But the real argument against slavery is that it violates our own original ownership. And that original ownership of ourself is what grounds our basic dignity and our entitlement to be treated with dignity, regardless of all the ways in which people may not like us, may disagree with us, may argue against us, may compete with us, may seek to punish us, may seek to hurt us, may seek to disadvantage us in some way. The one thing they can never be permitted to do is to deny our basic dignity. There are many famous speeches and many famous tracts in democracies around the world. One that you're no doubt familiar with is the statement that we are all born or created free and equal. It's a statement of who we are, not what we are owed. Equality is who or what we are as we come into the world and remain throughout the course of our lives. Our right to be treated with dignity, our right to be respected as equal persons, our right to express our voice, our right to self-determination, to express our political will through a vote that is equal to everyone else's vote, our right to be treated fairly under the law and before the law. All of those things are the result of our original condition of moral equality. Now, because we are not the same in so many ways, but are nevertheless morally equal, in a free and a democratic society, a just society, the equal moral personality, the equal dignity that we possess and that we are entitled to be respected for, entitled to have acknowledged by others, produces a political system in which we are moved, we are called as a group, as a society, to create a living experience for all of us that allows everyone to live with dignity while recognizing their differences. It doesn't mean that everyone is owed the same standard of living. It doesn't mean that everyone is owed the same admiration. It doesn't mean that everyone is owed the same recognition for what they have accomplished, what they have failed to accomplish, or for what they have done, good, bad, or otherwise. But it does mean that in a free and democratic society, a liberal democracy, because we recognize and we begin with the recognition of our equal moral personality, of our equality in our dignity as human beings, we take steps to compensate for the differences to the extent that we are prepared to compromise, whether it's affirmative action, whether it's diversity, equity, inclusion, whether it's a whole host of projects that we undertake as a society because we owe it to ourselves and to one another to make a good faith effort to produce societal arrangements and living conditions that reflect our respect for and acknowledgement of the fact that some of our differences are deserving of some kind of correction. And we disagree with each other respectfully about what those measures might be, about how much compensation we might provide to each other, about what that just society looks like. That is not the same thing as the moral equality, the equality of moral personality, of equal dignity with which each of us is endowed as we enter the world. Have a fantastic conversation. I can't wait to find out what you think about the equality principle.